Hello, I'm Crystal Martin. In 2022, I produced the film Etched on Granite for the Southwest Arm Historical Society. The project was by far the most complex I've ever worked on, not just in regards to editing and filming, but this took about a year's worth of footage, conversations, and gathering of information to put together. The most challenging aspect of this project was taking all this information and condensing it to a specific length that is both engaging, yet not too long to favor a particular scene or subject. The goal is always to tell a story with as much balance as possible, and the consequences of this means that some content had to be cut due to such constraints. I don't think there's any film or project in existence that hasn't encountered this challenge. The great thing about this channel is the full conversations I have for this project can be viewed in full, so in a way, nothing was left out. However, there's a story during my conversation with Jim Peddle that I would like to highlight. It's about his uncle Alexander Peddle and the artifact that I would later learn to be called the Dead Men's Penny. Alexander Peddle was born in 1889 and enlisted in the Newfoundland Royal Naval Reserve in November 1907. He served for 5 years and re-enlisted when war was declared. Both he and Archer were sent overseas on the Franconia. In chapter 35 of his book, A Newfoundland Seaman in World War I to the Great War and Back, Archer Peddle talks about a miscommunication involving the HMS Dirk and whether Alexander was alive or not. Jim Peddle goes into detail.
He did mention when his brother was lost, he was in the general area at the time. That's one thing I recall hearing him talk about. His brother's ship was torpedoed. I think he was present when it was torpedoed, and he was on another ship. And he assumed that his brother was on actually a different ship. He was transferred to this ship on that day, on the day before the torpedo. He was torpedoed, and so when the ship came in, that his brother was supposed to be on, his ship came in too, and they went. And he knew the other ship was torpedoed, the Dirk, HMS Dirk. He knew about that, so he went over to see his brother. And he was told his brother was transferred to another ship, the Dirk, which, and he knew the Dirk was lost. There were only 2 survivors. But there were complications because before leaving his ship, he wrote a letter to my mother, which was his girlfriend at the time, and he said, "I'm going over to visit my brother. His ship just came in." So on the way over, he put the letter in the mail, and he went over, and then he discovered his brother was on a different ship altogether. So his brother's wife and my grandmother, which was his mother, found out that Uncle Alex, his name was Alexander, was lost because they got, I guess they got a telegram. They usually get it, or the information came to them that he was lost. But then they got a letter. Then my mother got this letter saying that he was, his ship came in on the same day that he was supposed to be lost. So, nobody knew what was going on. So. I remember hearing my mother say that her mother-in-law, future mother-in-law, my father's mother came in to see, to see her, because the story was going around, that he was still alive. And, because my mother got the message, got the letter from the father, and so there was a lot of confusion there. But anyway, it finally got straightened out that, he was transferred to another ship. So for a while there was, there was some hope that, it was all a mistake and he was still alive.
Today, we take for granted the high-speed means of communication we have. Back in the war, soldiers would write letters, and some would reach home after that soldier would die in action. And in some cases, a casualty notice would be sent to the next of kin along with a memorial plaque and scroll before the letter would. These medals began to be dubbed the dead man's penny, an unflattering name given to something that in principle was supposed to represent honor. Few of these coins survived due to the negative emotions associated with them. However, after some communication with Lester Green, I was fortunate enough to see one of these coins in person. Whoa, oh my gosh. I didn't think it would be this big. That's huge. Oh,
Yeah.
look.
Nice to have.
Oh my gosh. Now, this is what I know about this object. So essentially what happens is during the First World War, when a soldier or anyone, when they, if they were killed in action, went missing, the next of kin would receive these plaques, and they will receive a scroll right here. Oh my, I'm not even going to touch that.
And that one's not very good.
No, but just to see one intact is amazing. From the king, that would have Seaman Alexander Peddle, the HMS Dirk. Now, depending on what location, people would keep these, but from what I understand here in the Southwest Arm, this is probably the only one that's left. And there was a bitter emotion surrounding these, if you can believe it or not, because you have to imagine now in the First World War, like, this was your husband, your son, your fiance, brother, like it could be anyone who was killed for your grandfather, yes. And once you receive this notice, well, it does look honorable. A lot of families, the mindset they were in was bitterness, some anger. And what they would do is like, really, like my son was killed, my husband was killed, my grandfather was killed, my brother, father, right? And some of these were lost. Some people would just toss them away. And now in the heat of the moment, I can kind of understand it, because this was a war going on. No one quite understood what was going on, and to have this happen is like they're worth more than this, right? I'm not keeping this. To me, they're worth more than this, and they would throw them away. But here in the Southwest Arm, I think this is the only one that survived. If there's any more out there, I don't know. They could be hidden away that people don't know about. But this is, yeah. So this was for Alexander Peddle. I believe, yeah, he's a brother of Arthur Peddle. Yeah, this is that's his medals here. Oh my goodness. His medals from King George.
I think we'll miss it.
And yeah, here we go. That's this photo right here. Yeah, David and Marianne Peddle kept this coin. And but yeah, Alexander, like that was his, because I was talking to Archer Peddle's son, Jimmy. Yeah, I was talking to, and he wrote this, and he was telling me about this plaque and this coin, and I believe he did also mention that I think he told me the fact that there's very few of these left in this area. I don't know about the rest of the island. Maybe it's probably a feeling that only this island had, but I was reading an article, and they're quite common in other parts of the country. So I guess it all depends on your mindset, like if like this is an honor, or is like, really, my son died for this. So yeah, that's Archer Peddle's in his own words. So this belonged to his brother.
And that's his son up there.
His son, yeah.
Next up on the book.
Oh, right here?
This one? Yeah, that one you just said you ran on.
Okay. Ah, yes, Ralph Peddle.
His only child.
Oh, okay.
My father.
Your father. So have you always had this, or when did you acquire this?
Well, my brother had it.
Yeah.
And I tracked it down.
You tracked it down. Use your resources. Yeah. Well, I mean, with subjects like this, you have to, right? Like this is actually emotional.
Yeah, it is.
You know, like this is the only one that we know of that's left, and given the circumstances that it was sent, and that's from the king himself.
That one, I don't know if there's any way to restore that one.
No, I probably wouldn't touch it, right? I mean, with paper, it's quite delicate. But I mean, it can definitely put in something protected, like it's,
Laminated or something.
yeah. Oof, yeah. it's actually, I do feel honored. I really do to actually see these things in person because it's just so rare. They are so rare.
29 years old.
29. That's all he was, just 29. Oh my gosh.
Had one child. 4 years old when he died.
Yeah. Gee, I think most of them were all young. My great Uncle Simeon Whalen, I think he's only in his mid-20s. Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah, not fair.
But he did leave a lot of offsprings. His son
Exactly.
had 11 children.
There you go. There you go. So like stories like this, thanks to to documenting and descendants, in a way, stuff like it's never going to die.
No.
It's never going to die. We had been sweeping north and south by the line of boys for several
days, and now we were heading back to Grimsby. The last time I saw my brother Alex, we had arranged that he would come down to see me when I got back, and I was to wait for him aboard ship before I went ashore. On Monday morning, we steamed south, and just before we turned Spurn Point, another line of ships were steaming on our starboard beam. Among them was the Dirk. I was at the wheel of the Princess Juliana, and as we were very close, the skipper said to me, "I'll take the wheel now, and you can go up and speak to our signalman, and tell him to tell your brother that you will wait for him to come down when we get in." I said it wasn't worthwhile because Alex knew I was going to wait for him before I went ashore. We arrived in port at about 6 p.m., and while I was waiting for him, I sat down and wrote some letters home. I wrote one to Maria, telling her that the Dirk had come in with us that evening. I told her I was now waiting for Alex to come down on board from Immingham before I would go on shore. After waiting an hour or two, I went up to the street and posted the letters home. While I was waiting around, I met some Newfoundlanders who were stationed on some of the ships out of Immingham. They told me that the Dirk had gone down at 1 a.m. on Sunday morning. They said she had been towing one of the slower ships of the convoy, and during an attack she had been hit by a torpedo and had been blown up. Only 2 survivors had been picked up. My brother had been killed when the ship blew up. One of the Newfoundlanders told me they had picked up several of the survivors of the German submarine, which was also sinking. Among the survivors was the commander of the sub. The Newfoundlander said he helped to pull the German commander on board. The help he gave was by taking hold of one of the buttons on the commander's coat between 2 fingers and giving a pull and taking the button off and putting it into his own pocket. While he was talking to me, he took the button out of his pocket and gave it to me. My letter to Maria telling her that Alex had come into port with me on that date and that I was then waiting for him to come down on board my ship was now posted. My parents received a telegram from the Admiralty saying that Alex had been killed in action, but my letter to Maria, which arrived later, led everyone at home to think that there may have been a mistake on the part of the Admiralty. And in spite of the letter I wrote explaining what had happened, they all still kept hoping it might have been a mistake and that Alex might still be living. The fact
It was a sister ship of the Dirk and not her that had been steaming in with us.